Hi, welcome to Spirit Rescue Talk. I'm Amy Major, and I have an awesome guest with us today. She is very new to our community, but I also want to let you know that she is not new to this work at all. She has a long history, which we're going to talk about quite a bit. Her name is Shae Limtiaco, and I did get that right.
Yes.
So I do want to introduce her, have her tell us a little bit about her history, where she's come, how she's got to where she is today, what type of services she provides, because our rescue community is growing, and not just the rescue, but helping people out, connecting to spirit, and really embracing our gifts. It's really a magical experience, and it is expanding throughout the world. So I'm glad that all of you are here today. So Shae, tell us a little bit about yourself. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely.
I'm Shae Limtiaco, and I am a clairvoyant psychic medium. I'm also claircognizant, clairsentient, and I started out a little bit over a year ago. I had a great grandfather who came and visited my house one night. I had seen spirits throughout my childhood. I chalked it up to other things like anxiety and nightmares. And then when I got comfortable with the idea of embracing what it could be, I had this experience where I woke up in the middle of the night because um, something with my senses, I just knew I wasn't alone. And it wasn't in the sense of who lives in my household. Is like, I'm not alone. I wasn't
Right.
sure if I was getting the sense that someone was breaking in or what this meant. And when I got up, I saw a shadow, a silhouette of a man in a three-piece suit, top hat, his mustache, and he was walking down the steps to come and try to connect with me, and then went right back up to not scare me. And because I was new at the time and hadn't had a chance to develop my skills or even understand it, I was scared and went to a medium friend that I knew who was able to look in my house and see who it was. I had a picture. I do still have a picture of this great grandfather. We were able to confirm it was him, and he wanted to reconcile with me because with my biological family in the line, I came out of a cult that I was trapped in for 19 years. It was a severe, very far right, like Christian cult situation. It was very severely abusive, and he helped pass down the beliefs that really went into that and really harmed me, and he wanted to reconcile.
Mhm.
And so I first worked with this friend, and then I found Ross Way's group. She has a group called Spiritualist Psychic Mediums Clairvoyance Support and Development Group. And this helped me with all of my anxiety, helped me to develop my skills and understand them, and find that now I really enjoy it because I enjoy helping people.
Right.
So after just developing for almost a year, it became clear that it was time to leave the nest. As you know, Ross and Bonnie in the group say, they're the leaders in the group. So they pushed me out of the nest and helped encourage me to start my business called Ethereal Connections. I'm LGBTQ, so it's LGBTQ owned. And so I really focus on using my mediumship skills to help people to connect with loved ones that have passed away, to get closure. And the tools that I use, such as tarot, they're just tools, but most of the time during sessions that I offer for people, everything comes through my mediumship, through visions and through seeing spirits who are present. So it's just something that helps support if I need to dive deep into more details, just to expand more on what's going on. But
Wow.
because of all that I went through, I learned that the more that you go through, it enhances your gifts. It doesn't just enhance your empathy, but for those of us as mediums, it actually enhances your gifts and your third eye.
It does. Very much. Now, I have to ask, you said something about a cold and escaping, and can you tell us a little bit about that exactly? How is it that it impacted you as you're in your life? Maybe it maybe affected the growth potential of your gifts, because I know you had mentioned that before. And just tell us a little bit about your journey, your story about that.
Yeah. So this this isn't an official cult. It's basically how it's built with the biological family. They have their own kind of, well, now it's like an official organization, church thing that they've brought people into. But I was born into this family that, right with the leaders of this, what I call my sperm and egg donor, and my, the sperm donor's dad. It's what I call for the parents. I don't call them mom and dad. I have a chosen family. They get those words. And throughout my life being severely abused, especially as a Black sheep who's independent and thinking for myself, I was really stumped in the ability to discover who I am, to feel comfortable embracing these gifts and maybe discovering them sooner, and realizing that it was my gifts that were saving my life. Because I lost my grandmother, Nancy Sue Shaw, when I was 3, almost 4, to ovarian cancer. She would have been the one person in the biological family to support me as a gay woman, and just having my back and keeping me from getting harmed. And throughout my whole life, she was my guidepost. And I've always felt her presence as a kid. I didn't understand why. Why was I grieving her? Why was I crying? Why did I feel like I was being hugged? Why am I looking up at the clouds? And this woman I can't remember, but I admire her story. Why do I see her? Why am I getting visions? What is this? And I've seen the silhouettes. I have seen spirits before, not understanding that was it. When I started chalking things up, when I was 19 years old, I ran out on my own. I never learned how to pay bills or do anything. I had to learn through Google how to function. So I had roommates. Eventually, after a couple of years, I finally met my wife. We went through a horrific time when we came out. We were outed and lost everyone we ever knew. If you know, like a situation like mine, when you're in a cult-like situation, the people that are a part of it are the only people you're really allowed to know. You don't get to make unapproved friends. So if you're rejected by them, you're also rejected by everybody you've ever known. It's like having your whole world collapse, and it's shattered, and you're not going to get it back. So take what shreds you can and build a whole new life. So I did that with my now wife, Darlene. And then I found my chosen family through Freedhearts. I am the chosen daughter of Robin Susan Cottrell and Marlene Lund, Debbie McCrary, and Susan Berlin. I got 4 moms and a dad and wonderful siblings and auntie. I'm so blessed. I get to be a cousin, and I'm an aunt now. I have a whole family, as I've always wanted. And I got on my healing journey. PTSD came up. Once I got to a safe place, it's like my mind and body is like, okay, you're in a safe place. So it's now time to deal with the trauma.
Right.
And I did. And then over that time, I did my EMDR. And when I got into hypnotherapy, spirits, such as my grandma's, they started coming into my office room to rest their hands on my shoulders and to support me through the therapy. The pain that I felt and the tears I had to go through, there were times that I was on my knees, crying on the floor, wailing, like I was in excruciating pain that made me feel like, man, I can't do this. And the spirits of her and her sisters, who also all died of cancer, BRCA2 gene runs through it, through the family, these good people that have died I never got to know on earth, came to lift me up and support me. And I was like, okay, this is so real. This is so real. And so when I had that experience with my great grandfather, that was it. I needed a support group. I had anxiety. I was scared of my gifts at first. And then back to, as I said, this journey that led me here, of having so much experience and saying, I want to help people for the rest of my life. I'm going to start this business as a medium, and I'm going to turn around. I'm going to take all of my pain, knowing so many people go through things such as what I've been through and others. And I want to help people for the rest of my life, heal from trauma, ancestral healing, everything, and use my gifts for as long as I live.
Well, it sounds like an amazing journey. But then I also tell people the journey that we embark on is essentially training for our future. It gives us the necessary tools that we need. I keep putting tools in that toolbox because you're eventually going to need them one day to help others. We learn through experience. And then in that experience, we gain wisdom and strength and courage and resilience. And through all of that, we then pass that along to others, and we become their mentors, their guides, their supporters through it. But we never really stop healing. I mean, we're gonna heal throughout our entire lifetime because there's always going to be more things that trigger us. There's always going to be more things that pop up that like make us feel just a little bit uncomfortable, like, ah, that's not so great. I don't really like that. But it's when you're finally at a place of peace, when you're finally at a place where of contentment, complete contentment, where you can say, it doesn't bother me anymore. It's okay. I can love you regardless of what you say, what you do. I am complete within myself. I don't need anything from you. I don't need anything from anyone. All I want to do is share my love with the world.
Yeah.
And I know you're absolutely going to get to that place.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about the ancestral healing. I mean, I would love to hear about it. I know many that are watching are going to love to hear about it. Tell us a little bit how that's done.
Yeah. So one of the newer ways that's helping bring things up is I'm doing somatic healing. You can find videos anywhere and courses. It's basically it's stretching and hip opening like work because the trauma is stored in kind of the
Mm-hmm.
hip area and the lower back. And I found that as I'm releasing the emotions, the stress, the trauma from, I get visions of where all of that came from because the the trauma of the past generations, it passes down generation after generation. I'm not just carrying my own life trauma, I'm carrying the trauma of generations and generations of women, even of men. And I have to heal that too. Another way that I do is, I've been through hypnotherapy. I've been through hypnotherapy and doing self hypnosis. I say, okay, this trauma has come up for me. It's in my memory, it's at the front of my head. I'm going to find out what the source is. So I
Right.
take myself further and further back in history and find out the source. And then I heal from there. And if I have to deal with ancestors of the past, and you don't have to be a medium to do this, but if you can go back through that, you can talk to the people who caused that and resolve it, say your piece, and you can also heal it and deal with it in a way that you didn't get to at the time. So it's just like redoing that and healing from there.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two main ways that I do it. But in addition to, as a medium, I have ancestors that started visiting. And when my great grandfather came, he started to show his true colors after a while, that he was a really troubled man. He had PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
So he was draining of my energy. He was toxic. What was great at first became dangerous. When I wanted to get rid of him and just say, you're just not welcome anymore, he was persistent to stick around. And then my great grandmother visited, and her name's Ruth Longbottom. Just giving like a spiritual shout. um, she showed up and she was in a gown that had blood on it because she had a stillborn that she was blamed
Mm-hmm.
for. And she was terrified of going to hell because she was called a lot of awful things. She was blamed for the loss of the baby, and she was told through these extreme religious beliefs that she was going to go to hell for it. So she didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to cross over. And he was holding her back. And even if he wasn't holding her back, she was afraid to cross over and go to hell because of something she couldn't help, which was having a stillborn baby. So, and when she visited, she wasn't really worried about, I need help crossing over. She was just really like pleading with me to stop connecting with him. He's dangerous. Don't trust him. You can't trust him. And wherever she went in the house, he was following and just very controlling. And I saw this through my third eye in my house. My grandmother came around and said, I really need a closed book on my parents' stories. You have
Mm-hmm.
to cross them over. This has been going on for generations. It's not done until they cross over. And I really need your help. I will help you in whatever way that I can, but please help me close the book on my parents' stories and get them to go to the next life.
Wow.
So I took her in another room, and I used 12D shielding, which, look it up. It's a kind of, for those who haven't, used it before, there's videos on YouTube that you can use, but it's a meditation to create boundaries. So that way spirits who are unwelcome cannot come into your home or on your property. I did that, and I told him to stay outside on the public street. He's not allowed to touch my property. And I got my great grandmother alone, and I started to talk to her. So I used the like a guided, kind of like a guided meditation, like soul rescue technique. But I basically told her, I said, you're not going to go to hell. hell's not even real. And I talked her through that and where the theology came from. I said, if you can trust me, I know you just met me. I'd really like to help cross you over. You're going to feel more you than you have ever been your entire life. You're going to finally have peace for the first time, knowing your story and that you never had peace on earth. You're going to experience peace for the first time. You're going to be authentic and be yourself and feel connected to your body for the first time. And you're going to heal from all this trauma, including losing your baby. And if you
Right.
can just lean on me, I just want to help you. And before I crossed her over, and the way that I do that is I envision the door,
Mhm.
and you use basically similar to the light streaming that you learn in therapy, but you create that light. And I asked her spirit guides and mine just to gather around to support her and just to help her cross over and cheer her on, make her feel safe doing it. And before she walked through the door, no problem, she said, I never thought that I would meet my great granddaughter and she would be the one to save me. So then
Mhm.
she crossed over. And then we got to my great grandfather and I talked to him. He said he wanted to reconcile. He wanted to apologize for his behavior and all of this. And I said, I really do. I forgive you. I need you to cross over so you can heal as well. This is your choice. If you stay here, I'm going to keep the boundaries. We're never going to connect again. If you cross over and you heal from this and become whole, I am open to talking to you again and maybe having a relationship through the spiritual realm.
Mhm.
Your choice. So I had his guides there that I called on to help him out. He was very willing to go knowing that because he genuinely wanted a relationship. So he crossed over. I saw my grandmother and I brought my aunts too, because I wanted all of the kids to like
Mm.
watch their parents go and say, okay, whew, this is done. And they get
Right.
inside, they were celebrating, and I watched them hold hands and leave my house together. They said they'd be back to visit, but they held hands as sisters and walked away and said, it's finally done. We can be at peace.
Mhm. It's amazing what can be done just from that connection and the ripple effect
Yeah.
that can occur from that, not just with them, but generations to come.
There were more generations that came after that further down the line that it just started this thing where now one after the other spirits, it's not every single person, but those who haven't crossed over, they keep coming saying, can you help me too? So this
Mhm.
this way with ancestral healing is also turning around with unconditional love no matter what they've done and
Right.
saying, I'm going to help you cross over so I can also heal too. And you're not impacting me with your negativity.
Right. And I know so many people that experience something like this where they have a lot of relatives. I mean, I've had thousands of people around the world contact me. I have this mom, or I have my uncle or my son, and they're hovering around us. And we know they're not in peace. We know they're not in the light. They're still suffering through their attachments to their trauma. And they really are attachments. They're attached to whatever it is that's keeping them from finding resolution. And when they do find that resolution, that moment, that spark of change, they shift their vibrational frequency just enough to be able to move into the light, because it does have to be their choice. It has to be through their free will to move into that light. We can't force spirits through. We want them to. Absolutely want them to find their healing and their love and their spiritual journey, and to be able to do that for your family is really an amazing experience. And knowing that you can let go from all of the judgments, and we do hold judgments whether we are aware of it or not, but we can let go of that and say, I'm going to help you. Even though you've made me feel uncomfortable, I'm still going to help you, because I know you deserve the love and affection that you desire, because I desire it too.
Yep.
And I can help you in that way. And how amazing is that you can help your family? Your
Yeah.
family can grow and expand and evolve through that experience. Now, I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, earthbound spirits don't exist, and because they've never experienced it before. Can you explain to people watching, how could you tell that these spirits were earthbound and not just spirits coming from the light that had all sorts of issues?
So I'll use one experience that has happened to me that is very clear and also describe how they often look to me. There was an earthbound spirit that was pretending to be my great grandfather and saying that he came back. He's gone through the process after crossing over and he was there. He didn't feel right. He was following me all over the place and watching me through windows, and the eyes the the eyes were just really like dark. It just looked very unhuman and very threatening. But the
Mm,
way that I was being followed and stalked and the feelings that washed over me, you can feel physically fear. And also there's this tingling sensation. I think it's like it comes from like anxiety and goosebumps, but it doesn't feel right.
mm,
And on top of it, in the behavior, I was being threatened. This spirit came down the stairs, and when I was laying on the couch trying to watch TV, it was getting in my face.
mm,
They really have your best, they have to have your best intent. If they're real spirits, because they have not real spirits. Let me change those wordings. If they're not earthbound, how you can tell is that they're not threatening of you. They don't mean harm to you. They may be troubled, depending on if they've ever crossed over, but they're not going to threaten you and look crazy and scary and have these dark eyes like straight out of some crazy movie where they have the demonic, spirits and
mm.
um and also kind of that look like I'm going to kill you. I've been threatened inside my own bedroom, and I've woken up to their presence and crossing through. I see their silhouettes. They just look like some monster as opposed to a
Mm.
person. And that's how I.
Right. One thing that I do tell my students about that helps them make some sort of determination whether the spirits are earthbound or not, because some people can't feel the vibrational frequency, the tone of the spirit, and can tell, I only see a spirit, but I don't know what their intentions are. And I always say, pay attention to this. If a spirit is coming through and they want something, they need something, they're trying to obtain something from you or from something outside of them, they're earthbound. If they are coming through and they want to give you something, love, support, guidance, they want to find, even if they want to find resolution, they're finding it because they're going through their life review. Say, I really want to help this person out because I need to know that they're okay and they forgive me so that I can go through my life review of seeing the impact that I've made in their life. But it's still very supportive, very apologetic. So you can tell, does the spirit need something from you because they don't feel whole inside because they're not in the light? The light provides that fulfillment. That feeling is they have everything that they need, that they desire, and now they want to give back. So you can gauge a spirit based on what is their intention to you and the reason they're coming around you. So it has helped quite a bit because sometimes you never know. For sure. If a spirit's in your home, oh my gosh, I feel some energy around me. What is that? Well, what's their intention? What do they want to give you? Do they want to take something from you? So, and we have to say, not all spirits in the light have wings, because some of them
Right.
don't. Some of them are just as temperamental as they were here when they were physically alive.
Very true.
But and I know you said that you also do messages from spirits that are in the light on the other side. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the messages that have come through or any of the situations or stories you had?
Yeah, this happens quite a bit. Working with clients, I haven't yet had a spirit that needed to cross over. If someone at peace that wanted their loved one to know everything's okay, please let go of your grief, live your best life. I I had one client that wanted to connect with her mom who had passed away. And
Mm,
she was just this very energetic, beautiful, extroverted, fashionista woman, very dancey. And she was very excited to connect, open right up. I didn't have to convince her. And she took me through her whole life, memories with her daughters that I can use to show her, like things that I couldn't have known to help her see this is real. Gave me a tour of her house through visions and
mhm,
showed me very specific things and memories. So when I met with her, with the daughter, I said, did your mom like to throw really big parties? Like, she had two turkeys at Thanksgiving, usually at these very large parties. I described her home, how everybody was doing, who was in the family, and memories. I can't remember the song, but I told her, I said, I don't know the name of this, but I'm just going to sing it because the words are in my head, whether I like it or not. Did you or, her, did she dance with her grandkids and with you to this song? Like, was this her favorite song? And I started singing it as it came through for me. I could hear it.
mhm.
And she just started bawling. She says, all of that is true. She says, I can't believe it. My mom's here. And I helped her to connect by being the messenger bird. I said, okay, you can start to talk to your mom and tell her what you want to tell her. And I'll keep telling you what she says. And then I'll
Mhm.
pass the message to you. So then I started doing the messenger and I let her talk. And it helped her heal because she hadn't got closure. And one of the biggest messages for her, for the daughter that the mom had is to please, at the capacity that she can do it, doesn't have to be as big as it was, but keep celebrating Thanksgiving. Keep celebrating the holidays and throwing these parties at whatever works for you that won't be overwhelming. Don't stop celebrating these holidays because I'm gone. Because she stopped. She wasn't really celebrating because it was too painful.
Oh,
Do that in memory of me and know that I'm with you and I'm at these celebrations. And I want you to live and to be happy and know that I'm always with you. I haven't left your side. I'm watching the grandbaby. She gave me a lot of specifics that I can't share for privacy reasons for different family members. And it it just helped her to release that grief and say, I'm gonna do that. Like, thanks, mom. And she needed to hear that from her mom. And it just was such a joy to provide that. So that's one of many examples that I can share with you of connecting. I mostly see through visions, but there have been a few meetings where I've had visitations and they were present.
mm,
You may or may not be able to see them. I'm going to describe them, tell them where they're at, whether they're with me and they're looking kind of, through there, they're just right by me because they want to talk straight to
right.
me, or they're there. Even for this woman, there was, in the second meeting I did with her, when she did another appointment, her mom was right behind her. So
Mm,
I got to tell her that, and that felt really good.
it does. It feels really amazing to know that we can really heal people through the messages, and knowing that, you know, I was taught through the spiritualist churches, my mediumship many, many years ago. And one of the fundamentals of mediumship is to prove in the existence of life after death. That is the main reasons why mediums become mediums. Yes, we want to give messages. We want to share love and let people know that they're not alone. But we're here also to relieve the fear of death,
Mhm.
and knowing that we are spiritual beings living a physical experience, and we will transcend past the physical experience, and we still exist, and being able to provide that guidance, that evidential mediumship, so that people know. And it isn't just, oh, you have a mom here and she had a heart attack, but if you can come up with something very specific that only that person will know, such as a song or a saying or a favorite toy or something that comes through that. And I always say it's that one thing
Yeah.
that somebody needs to hear so they know. I don't care if you don't come up with anything else that makes sense, but it's that one thing I need to hear to know that this is my person.
I
Then
always
we're
tell my
creating it,
clients,
aren't we? We're
yeah,
creating
absolutely.
that proof of life after death. And I think that's why we become mediums.
I always tell people, don't give me names, don't give me details. Bring photos. I would love to see what I'm seeing in photos. Do not show me the photos until the very end, because that's how I'm going to show you that it's real. And then when I'm
Mm,
talking about what they're like, I can tell what their personality is like. I can see their style of clothes. I hear their favorite styles of music. I hear details that matter. There's a grandfather who just really lived for sports. It was always watching sports. I could specify sports and even see, can I pick up on, what teams is there? If I say something, like if a detail comes to me, I always share, even if I'm not totally confident, and
mm,
describe it. And that ends up being true because I go by trusting spirit. I don't live off of anxiety or just say, you know, is it this? Is it that? I'm just going to describe it a little bit. I'm going to tiptoe. And can you just tell me if I'm on the right track? I just spit it out because I trust spirit to give me the right details. I trust what comes through, and I'm going to give you everything. And sometimes it doesn't make sense at first, but I always have clients who come back and say, those details that I denied, that I said didn't make sense. I actually talked to this family member or found
right,
these photographs or talked
right.
to, and it turns out, hey, that was actually true. So I also always tell clients, even if you don't think it's right and you tell me it may be wrong or it is wrong, please hold those nuggets in case it's right and you find out some other way.
And people really need to hear that, because, a lot of people say, I'm getting a message, but they have the deer in the headlights look like. I mean, they're not receiving it, because some people do come with an expectation, as I say. They have an expectation of what they're supposed to hear. They have it in their mind. Nope, I'm going to hear from this person, and this is the detail that's going to come through, and this is the sign that I need to hear. And if they start getting anything but that, they kind of shut off. They don't hear what is actually coming through. And what's usually coming through are details and information that spirit world deems is more important than what they felt they needed to know. Yes, the spirit world, they got their list of everything they want to bring forward, saying, okay, this is what they're expecting for all of us to say. Let's just get it done. Let's say what they want us to say, and then we'll come through with what they really need to hear. But sometimes some mediums go straight into what they need to hear, so a lot of people shut down. They get their expectation met. So we try to tell people, don't have any expectation. Just sit there with an open heart, open mind, and wait and see who and what comes through, because mediums can't necessarily determine, right? You can't determine, oh, well, I'm going to have Uncle Joe coming through at 3 p.m. and he's going to be wearing his best suit on. We don't always know who's going to be coming through.
Yep.
All we can do is be open and receptive, open our hearts, open our minds, open our souls to the spirit world. And I think if we get this message through to more people, they can be more receptive to more mediumship readings. But of course, as you know, there's a lot of skeptics out there.
Yep.
As far as mediumship goes. Now, I know you're saying how you're doing the readings as well. Did you always have this gift throughout your life, or was there a catalyst, something that kind of sparked it, got it really going for you?
Yeah, I've had it my whole life. When I look back, I realize it because I wondered why I see the things that I do. And since I didn't have concept, I thought I was just a daydreamer. I made up things. But when I
Yeah.
look back, it's all making sense because I didn't have the safe place when I was with my bios to do that. My safe place is with my chosen family, who also helped encourage me, and through the support groups that I found. And now I'm in your group as well. And, you know, that just helped me to piece it together and see what was going on back then. So it's been my whole life. And when I'm doing readings, again, I barely touch the tarot cards. The other tools that I have are simply tools to help out if I need an extra boost or a little bit more detail. But I often don't touch them because with such enhanced gifts, given all that I've been through, the enhancement, most of what I need comes straight through
Right.
my third eye and through visitations.
And it's so powerful when it does come through.
Yeah.
You know, my guys would always say, stop using cards, stop using cards. But they're expecting cards. They're like, stop it, they're getting in the way. And so I would put the cards in, and I would get names and events and ideas, and the client would be like, where's the cards? And I'm like, yeah, it's not happening that way. So I totally understand what you mean about not needing cards, for sure. Let's just step into our electronic devices again, as they know we're talking about them, and that's what they usually do. But have you had any other experiences with any earthbound spirits outside your family,
Oh,
such as
goodness.
like house clearing or helping people with the transition of spirits?
Yes, so there's one that I'm getting help on. This is a pretty big deal, and I haven't spoken out too much about it yet. But there was a spirit of a 20-year-old boy in my woods. Next door, one of my neighbors is a ginormous, like, unkept woods. And to put it gently, this boy unalived himself. He didn't want to be on earth. He and fortunately took his life. He wasn't found, and he wasn't leaving because he didn't have that closure. And I could see him clearly, physically, and through visions in my woods. And he was staring out at me and watching me and just wanting attention. And I ignored it at first because he's also a troubled kid. He did kind of prank me a bit, messing around like in my windows, and he was just doing normal boy things. And I'm like, okay, you need to stay in the woods. I need to set a boundary here, and you're going to stay on the fence line and you're not going to do funny boy things. He had that playful energy. So then I said, okay, I'm going to set right now. I don't have the energy. At the time, I didn't have the energy. I set a time that I said, come and meet me on my back deck. I brought out tea. I said, I'm going to sit with you and get the details and just see how I can help you. Because he was pleading for help. He didn't mean any harm. And so I sat there, he told me everything. And he said, I just feel really bad and unresolved because my family hasn't found me. Police had given up. And I just feel unloved because everyone gave up. It's like, forget, he thought he was just forgotten in a really negative sense. So I said, I really want you to get peace. I don't need any more of your help. He pointed out the general area in the woods. I know the exact spot where he pointed out because he stood around there a lot. He pointed that way and he says, I would just want to know that, I'm going to be found. I said, if you can trust me that I am going to keep at this and I'm going to get help to get a search back there. If you can trust that I'll do that, I would really like to cross you over. You don't need to stay here with me for this to be accomplished. You can go get peace. And then I promise I will work this until it's done and you are found. And he trusted me. He took me at my word. So from there, I crossed him over. It felt really good. He was so eager for help that I was gardening one day and he walked up from behind me, came out from the woods to stand in my front yard over by my garden. Like he just, coming around. And so I really felt good helping him. He was just a kid. He had so much to live for. And so, and the extra detail to that, knowing how true this was, I did look into, I live in the state of Washington. I looked through missing persons reports. I found a report with a picture of the kid. It looks exactly like I saw him. And it had a mark on there that said suicide watch, that he was on watch. He was high risk for that. And I found that profile. So I haven't built trust with authorities or anything. I'm getting help to see how should I approach this. So that way it's trust. Of course, I have nothing to do with it, but I did see this. I did find this. So I'm getting guidance from the right people to go ahead and push this over and say, if you trust mediums, I just want to give this to you for this case.
Well, they also take anonymous tips too, which sometimes they follow, sometimes they don't. But there are a lot of anonymous callers, and they usually should follow up with all leads. Especially if you're like, I know where the body is, because it isn't necessarily about us getting the recognition, saying we found him, we connected to him. It's about the parents finding his body.
And giving them closure.
Yes.
The empathic side of me just feels so much for the family not having closure. This is what's really drawing me into more spirit rescue work is my gifts, I'm able to help with missing persons reports. So if I can learn how to approach this and do this, I would love, there's so many cases, unfortunately, in Washington. I did not realize it until I opened this portal. I'm like, this is a huge deal. There's thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of missing people that were never found, different lengths. I would love to be able to have that as a part of my work and help get closure for families.
Well, I think it's definitely needed. Definitely needed, and feel free to call upon the authority and say, can I work on any cases that have been closed just to get some practice? They may send you some files, and when you validate information that they already know, they're most likely to start listening to you and saying, oh, they really do know what they're doing. Maybe let me dabble in this just a little bit. They are becoming more open to using psychic and mediums, especially with missing person cases, because they really want to gather as many resources as they can. They care just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
So I think it's a valuable thing for you to follow up on and definitely work with, especially those that are in desperate to be found, for sure. Yeah. And because of that, how can people reach out to you if they want to connect to their family members, if they feel like they have somebody that might be in a limbo state that needs help crossing over, or they're even looking to repair their lineage and their ancestry as well? What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
So I'll start with my email, Your Ethereal Connections, Ethereal's ETHEREAL, Ethereal Connections, Your Ethereal Connections at gmail.com. My Facebook business page is Facebook/Ethereal Connections. Mm-hmm. Ethereal Connections for TikTok as well. Because the name was taken on Instagram, it's also Your Ethereal Connections on Instagram. Have it on all the pages. Ethereal Connections on Reddit and Tumblr as well. I have a Tumblr blog. So I'm across social media, and I know that there are a number of people who aren't using social media, so please feel free to send me an email. I check them all the time. I do check, I will add, I do check my my message requests in all my social media, because I know there's the other folder. So if you think I'm not going to see it because it's in the other, I do check my other folders for all of my social media. I will accept, I will find you and get a hold of you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to have you on the show.
So much.
It's it's always great to see the future of this work, and you definitely are the future. And as you grow and as you excel, even in the work more than you have already, I know there's going to be a tremendous amount of people that you can help. So thank you so much.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's so great to meet you, Amy. You are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to all to you for joining us today. Please reach out if you would like any information. Shae has wonderful, wonderful, wonderful information to share with you. And with all of us working together, we can make this a much better, beautiful world. Have a great day.